Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Professor Cruz, and I want to go through some avenues in which you can look for potential job openings. Now, I know some of you are sophomores, freshmen, and some of you are seniors. So it doesn't matter whether you have 3 years left before you enter the job market or 3 months. You can never start looking too early. Or let me rephrase it another way. It's never too early to start preparing to enter the job market. And one of the aspects of preparing is knowing what's out there. What you don't want to do is apply for graduation and then think to yourself, damn, what am I going to do for employment? Now, that does happen to people. That happened to me. So if you are one of those people, that's perfectly fine. This is just going to make it hopefully a little bit easier for you. At the very least, if you want a job related to law enforcement, this can be an avenue for you to do it. So the first way to do this is to look for jobs on People First. People First is Florida's state website to look at jobs. And I typically in my classes, I talk about getting employment at 3 different levels. If you're working for the government, there is local, state, and federal. There's not necessarily a way to identify which ones are better, because better is relative. I think it's probably best to say what's best for you. Some pay more than others. Some allow you the flexibility of picking where you want to live, and some do not. So let's go through it. And let's start at the state level. So if you Google People First jobs in Florida, the first link that you get might be this one. This is the first link that I got. Now you do not have a login, but that's perfectly fine. You are not going to need one to look for jobs. You can just scroll over here, search for a job, and again, here, click on state job, and this will pop up. You might be able to find this link directly through Google. This was actually, I think, the second link that popped up, and that's fine. The goal is to get to this page, but this is just to show you that if you get this page instead, don't be deterred. Don't get frustrated. Just click on search for a state job, and it'll come up over here. Now, this website is pretty intuitive. You can search for keywords here or via location. They actually do a pretty good job of aggregating jobs into categories over here for job opportunities. Now, I know that people who are studying criminal justice, criminology, they don't only have to work in jobs of public safety. They can potentially look in jobs in education. They can look for legal jobs and community and social services. But for our purposes, we're going to be looking at public safety because that's probably what aligns the best for what most of you are looking for in employment. So when you click on public safety, it'll show you that there are 125 jobs and they're scattered all throughout Florida. I'm going to take location. I'm going to say Miami. Let's say you like the area and you want to stay here. Well, there are 7 jobs available here. And they list these as category of public safety. So let's actually look through a few of them. Let's actually look through, two or three. Let's go to law enforcement investigator. I picked this one because I know someone who works for the state agency. So this right here is the position. The description is scattered throughout here. Let's just start at the starting pay. Now I know that this is not the official starting pay. It's actually in the 50s. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the range in which you'll start, and then you'll get an increase because you live in Miami. The state of Florida realizes that some areas of Florida are more expensive than others, so they pay you accordingly, or at least they try their best to pay you accordingly. Miami is known to be more expensive, so they give you a CAD. That's basically their cost of living adjustment, or basically their way of saying we'll pay you more because you live in a more expensive area. The person that I know that works there says that since this is 46, typically you'd be offered the higher end of this, and then you'd get the 5,000 on top of it. So they said they start at around 51,000. And yeah, so you go through it here. It tells you some more interesting facts about the job, and you get to minimum qualifications here. It tells you about the pay scale. See, they actually get paid monthly. And preferred skills, description, and then all the way in the bottom here, you apply. One interesting thing about this position is that unlike being a regular police officer, you actually get the full title of investigator versus a patrol officer. And that could be valuable to you if you want to use this as a stepping stone to go to other law enforcement agencies in the future, particularly at the federal level. Let's go to correction and probation. This is for a senior officer. Again, here, salary range. And I know the postings may not be identically structured. Here's description, but they're not that long to read. Same thing here. These are all good stepping stones, or perhaps places that you want to make a career out of. Right. So if you want to just look at the jobs that they identify, then you can totally do that. There is actually another way you can do this is you go all the way up here and let's try investigator. Let's try looking at that. And you can see that there are a lot of investigator positions that are not only related to criminal justice. So you see over here, children and family, financial services. There are a ton of investigator positions, and some of which you may qualify for, and some of which you may not. But you can sift through that yourself. Let me see. Let me see if I can narrow it down a little bit. Right. So here are investigator positions in Miami, and oh, and actually, you know what? This actually just, let me see, Miami. No, not investor. Right, investigator. Right. Well, there you go. Now there's 7 investigator positions in Miami, some of which are classified as public safety and some of which are not. Again, these are all positions that you may qualify for. So have your fun with this website. It's actually a pretty robust website. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot of good things in this website that can either be a stepping stone or a worthwhile career. So if you're interested in working for the state, which I always like to say they have great benefits, this is one way to do it. All right, so now let's look at positions at the local level. And by the local level, I'm talking mostly about police officers, but there are positions other than police officers at the local level. So when I refer to the local level, I'm talking about your local county or even municipality, any place that basically can tax and raise revenue and use that revenue to pay for a police department. There's some areas that are some police departments rather that cover a large area like Broward Sheriff's Office or Miami-Dade County, which is also a sheriff's office, but they don't call themselves that. If you think of like famous police departments throughout the country, like the New York PD, New York Police Department, or NYPD, or Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD. They're very, very big. They're much bigger than what you think of when you think of something like the city of Miami, which they also call themselves Miami PD. So you find these mostly with Google. You can go to the International Association Chiefs of Police website, but most people aren't going to remember that. But you can Google county police openings or just, police openings, police officer openings, and you'll be greeted with something like this that has a lot of police officer positions. And let's say you wanted to find, let's say you had a certain police department in mind because you know the area and you want to work there, and presumably maybe you want to live there. So let's see Coral Gables. Let's see if they have any positions open. Oops. Sorry about that. So this is actually, okay, so this is a good place to hunker down for a few and explain some things. First off, Google is able to aggregate a few positions. So firstly, they found a police officer with the University of Miami because it's in Coral Gables. And if you're lucky, they'll list the benefits here, starting pay 51 to 54. Start a second year, 65 to 80 to 68. It really depends on your qualifications and what you're able to do. But it's not only is it a good job, it's viable. You should be able to obtain it. You're just looking at the qualifications here with your bachelor's degree and your experience. There's several different positions. Several different places where you could apply. I always recommend, if possible, going to the actual website so you can literally Google University of Miami police officer position. You should be able to go to UM's official website and apply through there. You could apply on LinkedIn and a few other places. They'll basically just send the information over for you, and then they also likely get a small referral fee for referring you, but it's always best to go through their official website just because you don't want any information to be messed up when it's transferring over. You want to, okay, so let's say you wanted to become a police officer with the city of Coral Gables. There are actually 2 positions here, which are starting the same, but one's certified and one is non-certified. So in the state of Florida, which is not the only state that does this, a lot of states do this, you can get certified on your own. Now, typically, most people think of like when they think of the police processes, like what the NYPD typically does, whereas you apply and you go through an academy, and through that academy, they certify you. So you become certified, or you basically receive the qualifications to be a law enforcement officer within that state. That's not always the case for every single state. In some states, or some police departments rather, I'm sorry, they do that. That's what the non-certified position is for. So if you think you qualify into the non-certified position, you apply there without having any certification, and they'll pick you up if they want to hire you, and they will pay for you to get certified. There are other places where, I mean, there are other positions sometimes offered by the same police department where they're looking for people who are certified. A lot of police departments that have a lot of demand, like they have a ton of like applicants, they can be very, very picky. They might skew more towards hiring people who are already certified because it costs them less money and it's a shorter turnaround time for them to hire you. Because if you're hired and you're non-certified, the police department has to invest money into getting you certified. And there's also a period where the period which you have to get certified, which is like a few months. And once you go through that training, then you can become certified. So if the jobs are scarce, they'll typically pick people who are certified. But if you have a specialty, like a set of skills, like let's say you're pretty proficient in GIS, or you have language skills that they might want or be like interested in, apply for the non-certified. I always recommend applying just to see what happens. The worst thing they can do is tell you that they went with another applicant, which in that case you just reapply again when you're certified. But there are plenty of police departments that are hiring for non-certified. So I don't want you to get discouraged. But Coral Gables is a relatively good example because it shows you the difference between certified and non-certified. Looking through some of the benefits here, some of the responsibilities and benefits, starting pay 57 and 59, the sign-up bonus of 2,500. You get a take-home vehicle, health benefits, pension. So yeah, pretty decent job. There are other positions, as I said, you can look for at the local level, but this is just a small sliver of what searching for jobs could be like. People tend to discount using Google because use Google for everything else, but Google is a great tool for aggregating these positions. All right, so now we get to the end of the road here with federal jobs, and this is gonna take a little bit more time to talk through. That's because there's just so many federal jobs out there, but also the several different ways for you to find them. The best way to find them, and the place I recommend everyone start their search, is usajobs.gov. This is the website. I would say this is the one-stop shop, but it's not, but it's like close to it. It's close to the one-stop shop for government jobs. The first thing I recommend you do before you even start searching, create an account, click sign in. And if you don't have an account, create one. Once you do that, when you search things, it'll be able to save your searches and you can see the things that you want to apply for. And then also, presumably you apply for jobs. I'm just going to look up a basic job. I remember earlier in the video, we looked up what an investigator would be like on the state level. Now we're going to look up investigator at the federal level. So search a keyword here. And whenever the website does decide to load, because right now it's taking a few, there we go. It'll pull up a bunch of different investigator positions. The first thing I like to do is always click open to the public. And that's because, if you're not already a federal employee, you're not going to qualify for those jobs. So yeah, there you go. The website is giving me little problems. I just hit the refresh button and it works fine. So now they're going to sort by relevance. There's 71 jobs here. So what I recommend you do is go through this list and try to find ones that you think that you qualify for. Let me see here. There should be a few after we go through the physician ones here. So this is one with Department of Homeland Security, which is very rare to actually see them post a job, which I actually have open here for you to look at. One thing to note here is that even if you may not qualify for these jobs initially, these are some things you always need to look out for and constantly basically just refresh and look every so often. If you're in the job market, you should be checking weekly for jobs because something like this can happen. This is a highly coveted position because Department of Homeland Security typically doesn't hire a lot of people in-house for their agency. The Department of Homeland Security is like an umbrella that encompasses several different government entities. So things like the TSA, the Homeland Security, the Coast Guard. Those are all agencies, right, within the Department of Homeland Security. So, but the Department of Homeland Security does actually hire people directly. And this position is only going to be open for 2 weeks. So if you missed out on this 2 weeks, if you weren't searching every week and you qualified for GS11 or GS12, depending on your experience and pay, you can be making pretty decent money early on. So anyway, let's say you wanted to go here. The first thing I do is scroll down and start looking for qualifications to see if you qualify for this. Now, this is a bit more specialized, so you probably won't be able to qualify for this right away, but this is just to show you that these positions that are highly coveted, because this is a highly coveted position, they do not last forever. So this is something you constantly have to search for. So over here, you would need to demonstrate that you are able to qualify qualify near the GS9 level. By the way, just so, in case you don't know, GS level is basically a level of experience in the federal government. The higher the GS level, it's typically denoted the more experience you have, or qualifications, I should say. It's probably better put that way. Higher qualification level you are. And it's going to correlate with time. The longer you work in the federal government, the higher GS level you're likely to obtain. But there are going to be ceilings which you cannot circumvent if you don't have certain qualifications. So over here, just FYI, I think the highest that most people could reasonably think to obtain is GS12 or 13. So this is actually very, very high. So GS11, in order to qualify that, you would have to be able to have these experiences under your belt already, or you'd have completed a PhD or equivalent degree. So pretty difficult to qualify for the moment, but this is just to show you this is a highly coveted position that was posted here and it's going to be gone. So let's actually look at a different agency. Let's look at the Secret Service, who I believe have a few positions available, because they usually always have rotating positions. Here goes one with the Navy. Here we go. U.S. Secret Service. This is GS13. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to search it. There's another great thing you can do here. You could search your agency directly if you have one that you want to work for, and it'll automatically pull up all the jobs there that are available. So let's just look at an officer for uniform division, which is basically you work in DC. And you basically working full-time on a protective detail, I believe in the White House or one of the embassies that they have there. Let's try to find the qualifications. You basically need to have experience, and there's no educational requirement. And to be clear, you don't actually need to have any form of experience in being working in any sort of security capacity. You just need to be able to demonstrate that, one, you're trustworthy, and two, that you have some limited experiences. So you would definitely qualify for this if you wanted to apply now, but obviously if you have a degree, it'll be a lot easier to get it. Criminal investigator, they have several different locations, and the locations are going to dictate the pay. But yeah, it's one of the great ways to look for jobs. If you don't want to work for the Secret Service, so you want to work for the DEA or the Drug Enforcement Administration, they also post jobs here. Let me see. I wonder if the postal inspectors have anything. Let me see. I don't think they have anything. They have paralegals. But this goes to show you how many different government agencies post here. The reason why I say that this isn't a one-stop shop is because some federal government agencies require you to go through their to their website. Oh, let me just actually, Miami, in case you wanted to stay here. Let's just look at all the federal government positions in Miami right now through this just posting on their website, right? Just on usajobs.gov. If you want to work for the FAA or the Federal Aviation Administration, there are a lot of job postings that are open. And these are all job postings which presumably you can apply for right now. Now, you may not qualify for all these, I understand that, but the point is that they're there. People don't typically know that they're there, but the people who do scour to these positions as fast as they can because they close relatively quick. But let's say that you were one of those people who say, I want to work for the federal government, but I want to work for the FBI. Well, I got you covered. The FBI posts their jobs sometimes on usajobs.gov, or so I've been told. I haven't seen one. Let's actually look to see. Maybe I can be proven wrong live right here. Let's look for FBI. And let's remove all the other qualifications here. I mean, all the other criteria. So just open to the public and just FBI. So there you go, the DOJ, and they have a few positions that might be open. There you go. Look, I can eat my words live. Yeah, there we go. Special agent, accounting background. They should have a general background. They have education, which is where I might fall under. Let's see if they have one that you don't need that. Law background, so you need a law degree, psychology, cybercrime, attorney, special agents. Let me see. I think this is the generalist position where you don't need to have any, like, not saying you don't have any like special skills or anything, but not in a certain field, like you're and like you'd be considered a well-rounded applicant. So let's see, qualifications. I'm just going to scroll down here to education. This is really what's important here. There we go. This is the catch-all one where you can apply for. If you don't have one of those degrees that are specialized there, but you still want to work for them, this is the place to go. We will all qualified applicants. Yes, there it is. Okay. And the regular requirements, 23 to 37, have a bachelor's degree or higher, be able to obtain full-time security clearance, have 2 years of full-time work experience, although you could only have 1 year if you have a graduate degree, and have a driver's license and be able to get top secret security clearance. And yeah, you basically apply on the website. So if you don't want to navigate their website, you can also go to the FBI's main website. And I was just talking trash saying that they don't apply here. I mean that they don't always post, but they do. So let's do the same thing here. And you always want to look at, you see, is there a way to, okay, you can segment that by location, recruiting location, experienced hires. Okay, all US citizens. Yeah, so something that everyone can apply for. So they only have 3 posted here. And this is their special agent position here that they have posted. So you're going to get slightly different information if you go to the FBI's website. I recommend going to both, especially if you're interested. I guess maybe the main takeaway from this is that if you're interested in a specific like agency, go to their website first, see what they have, and if you don't see anything there, go to usajobs.gov, because there's going to be a bunch of positions that you may not even think that you qualify for, that you don't even know exist. As I mentioned earlier, this job posting for the criminal investigator, most people don't know it exists. Let me see if they actually have any positions open with ATF, because they typically don't. Maybe today might be one of those weird days. They have 17 positions available with ATF. That is okay, GS14. So that might be a little bit difficult to get, but this just goes to show you that they do have a lot of positions available, and you may be eligible for them. You never know. These positions open to the public, just these 2. It's very difficult to get a job with ATF because they're a very small agency. So anyway, one agency that I know that does not post jobs there is the CIA. The CIA has actually a pretty, probably my favorite website. So you go here, go down here and you click view all jobs, and it'll bring you to this lovely layout over here. You pick what type of career opportunity you're interested in. For most people here, it'll probably fall under the analysis category. And let's just see, let's go down here to your minimum degree. Let's say bachelor's, and it'll show you all the different types that you could possibly qualify for. It doesn't mean you may not have experiences in maps, so maybe maybe like a cartographer is not your thing. Maybe you don't have experience in business. Maybe you don't know anything about like methods, but keep on scrolling. Maybe you have some experience in cybersecurity. Maybe you have some experience in data analytics. There are several different ways in which you can qualify to actually get into the agency. So I'm just going to click on learn more, and you see there are currently no positions available. Okay, so back up here, maybe you try the economic one, which, if you have a background in economics, they have a position open for you to apply right now. And they always have the layout about the job, who you'll work with, what you'll get, and the minimum qualifications. Again, this is a fantastic website, and it's also a fantastic agency. With that, one thing to note, though, if you do apply for the CIA, you will have to relocate to DC. I know you think that might be the case for most federal government agencies, but actually that's not true. Most federal government agencies are hiring for their satellite locations all throughout the country. And so let me just go back here. And let's just pick any random position here. Federal Bureau, do they have a location available here? No, that's probably not the best example. Let's just search investigator. Yes, criminal investigator. Here you go. Multiple locations. Over here, they have a specific location in mind, multiple locations. Most of the positions are going to be for multiple locations. However, with the CIA, that is not the case. All the locations are going to be in DC, and if you get hired for a position that's not in DC, it's not going to be typically in the US, it'll be abroad. So something to note. And lastly, if you are not interested in the CIA, or maybe you want an agency that has less publicity, it would probably be with the DIA. The DIA is a lesser known agency. It does not mean that it is lesser to the CIA. They do different things. The CIA typically works very closely with the vice president. And they sometimes work with the chief of staff, whereas the DIA works with the military. So you see you can see that there it says .mil, technically working with the military. You want to go to career opportunities. Well, first, if you actually want a job here, you can look through the career fields and see if the intelligence fields here are something you like. And if they are, then you go down to applying to DIA and explore vacancies. The DIA, I don't want to say it's typically harder to get into, but there are less positions typically available. Right now, there's actually only 18 available. And most of these, I'll see 3 of them are internships, which is something to note. I think if there's something to take away from this is that you need to be very vigilant and constantly look, because the first time I actually discovered the DIA and was looking through their website, I didn't find anything. And like a month later, I saw that they were having a hiring event, and that hiring event, they were accepting applicants for all fields. And then the hiring event ended, and I haven't seen an opening since. So hard agency to crack, worthwhile employments. They do have locations that are not in DC. They actually have, I think, at least 2 in Florida. I know there's one here in Miami, and there might also be one in Tampa. But point here being is that another great place to work at, I think if I'm going to make it a bit of a oversimplified statement here, I guess at the risk of sounding kind of lazy here, but painting with broad brushstrokes, the federal government probably gives you the best benefits or close to it. It could be tied with county because police officers have really good benefits, really good pay in comparison to other places. Now, you're not going to be rich working there, but you'll never be hurting for money because they do pay typically pretty well. And you'll also have access to things that you won't have access to in terms of information at the federal level, particularly if you get a job with top secret security clearance. Some cons, you're probably going to, in all likelihood, you're probably going to have to relocate to a place that you aren't currently residing in now. That's not always the case. For example, if you live in New York or you want to be in New York, a lot of the times you put in for those like locations, you would think that people want to work there. People do not want to work there because they're extremely busy, and you're not going to get like significantly higher pay than, like, let's say you're working in New Jersey, which, if you're not familiar with the geographical location, New Jersey and New York are right next to each other. So a lot of people put in for Jersey, but not a lot of people put in for New York because you're not going to get paid anymore, but you're going to do a lot more work. So unless you live in a place that's extremely busy and populated, odds are you probably won't be getting your first pick. Miami is a very desirable pick. People want to move here for the weather. It's not that easy to get a position here. You are sacrificing your ability to find a place pick a place you want to work at. And also it's a lot harder to get hired typically at the federal level. Now, that doesn't mean that it's easy necessarily to get hired at the local or the state level. If I had to, I guess, paint again with broad strokes here, I think it's probably easiest to get hired at the state, then the local, then federal. But the gap or distance between getting hired at the local and state versus federal is pretty wide. This is again very preachy, I guess. if at any point in time you think that it's probably a good idea for you to stop any vices that you might have, any bad habits, that time should be like today, because the number one reasons that people get weeded out is past activity that is typically seen as either deviant or criminal. And even if you don't do any of that, the next thing is lying on the polygraph. So you want to be as forthright as possible on the poly, so you don't fail it. And the number one way to not to basically to pass the polygraph is to just tell the truth. So you would have nothing to lie about. So, clean up your personal act if you need to do that. Now this video probably went a little too long and it got a little too preachy, so I do apologize for it. And my voice extremely monotonous. Apologize for that too. But if you sat through the stumbling, then you might actually be able to take something away from this. One other thing I want to point out here, which we did not cover in this video, which might be of interest to you, is resumes. If you need a resume, that's not probably, let me state this another way. You do need a resume. There's no way around it. Certain federal government agencies post templates for their resume. The FBI, I know, is probably the biggest one. They post an actual template of how they want your resume to look. You need a resume to apply to any of these jobs. If you apply on usajobs.gov, which is this website over here, you have to, I think in order to use the website, you actually have to take your information out of your resume and then build an on-site resume with them. That doesn't mean you have to use their tool to submit when you apply through usajobs.gov. I applied jobs at usajobs.gov before, and I used my resume like an actual Microsoft Word document, which is another thing. If you don't have Microsoft Word, you use a computer that does not have it, you need it, get it. I think you can get it for free from the university. I highly recommend it. You need it. Build a resume. It might be intimidating to start from scratch. If you need help, come to me. I'll help you. I'll show you mine. You can also use some of the on-campus resources. I didn't use those when I was an undergrad, and I regret it. Do that. Find a template, put in your information. You might think that you haven't done a lot in your life. I thought that I didn't do a lot in my life. It doesn't really matter. Okay, put down what you have. Federal government resumes, local, county, they're interested in knowing if you've done anything relevant to the current job and what have you just done in general. That's all they're looking for. They're looking to verify the information that you are going to give them anyway when you fill out your job application. They're going to ask you about basically every aspect of your life for the past 10 years. Your resume is just a shorthand version of that work history, of that experience, of that life history. They're going to use that to verify information. If there's anything important about you that could be relevant to the job, put that in the resume. Okay. Now, with that being said, now I'm going to bring this video to a close. Thank you. I really appreciate you sitting through this. I hope you found it helpful, and enjoy the rest of your week.